This is just a comparison review of the Amcrest 195-B and compared to a oldie but a goodie, a Logitech c930e. This is the wide angle version of the c920, which is a very popular camera. That costs about roughly $100, £100 now on eBay used. And actually it's because it's not readily available, and it's usually sold out because of the pandemic, and a lot of people buy these cameras mainly for Zoom. And if you're looking at this, you're probably thinking, can I buy the Amcrest version for £27 and is it up to scratch? Well, you're looking at it. This is the quality of the Amcrest camera, and it's quite sharp. This is, by the way, even though a 1080p camera, all video conference software, I'm using Google Hangouts right now, they upload at 720p, and that's because they don't want to, clog up your upload. And I have fiber optic, and it's limited to 720p, even though it's a 1080p camera. I mean, it is quite sharp. It's good enough. You could see like my hair strands if you want to, and it gets the job done in terms of getting your message across. So the microphone as well, by the way, is also based on, is also Amcrest. So this is the sound of my voice at the distance from the laptop. I'm using a MacBook Pro, and those things are clipped onto my MacBook. So I'm just going to stop this and then switch over to Logitech and see what you think. This is the Logitech 930e, and this is using its own microphone. And so what do you think based on the audio? This is of course a much wider camera. This is actually designed for conference tables, or if you have two people sitting right next to you in a conference call to have a three-way call. And you notice that there is a difference in terms of color and in terms of exposure. I haven't changed the lights, but this camera can adjust itself in terms of autofocus and its brightness. It's set that way, but you could turn that off, the auto gains and exposures. The Mac version of both of these cameras, I noticed that the white balance can actually is quite good. If you put this on your PC, the white balance on the Amcrest is more reddish, and that's probably because the person who programmed it was in a very fluorescent room, because fluorescent lights give green tinges, and he's probably using, or she, whoever was calibrating this, was calibrating against the fluorescence to compensate, and hence it's somewhat reddish when you have warm lights, yellow lights in the room. So this is probably why you see in the reviews that they come off quite red. Anyways, I'm babbling. You could compare the difference between the two. So I am now using the MacBook Pro FaceTime camera, and I'm also using the MacBook Pro's microphone. And I brought that out so that I could show you the differences between these two cameras. Let me just remove that. So you can see, is it focus? Let's bring it further out. So you can see how they're quite, in terms of size, width is roughly the same. And that's because probably the microphone accommodation. And the stand is roughly the same design, and so it's relatively the same. You could have this stand up like this if you want, just as this can as well. Although it's not, so it's only like limited to this, whereas this is more of a 90-degree angle, so it stands a little bit taller. And this is has a weight to it. Much more than this. So I guess that's why they couldn't make it to upright, because there's no weight to this, and this is limited to like that, so otherwise it won't fall over, whereas this can do that. Another cool thing about this is that you could fold this. This has a privacy thing, although you could get a privacy thing for this for like $3. You just stick onto this glass and cover it, or snap it on. You notice that this, when folded, it's much thinner, and this is much thicker. So this is more portable. I apologize for the focusing of the FaceTime camera. but I hope you get the idea. Okay, one big con for this is you see the red light. It's quite annoying when it's off. I mean, right now the camera's off and it shows a red light, which is in my eyes a lot. I wish they could just turn it off just like this. I mean, it's not on, so why have an LED light on? So I wish maybe they could program this to turn off the LED, have the option to do that. Yeah, another con is it relies on the platforms, whatever you're using in terms of like Zoom, etc., or OBS, its own configuration to configure things in here if you want to control the brightness, etc. It doesn't have its own dedicated software, whereas this has a dedicated software. Logitech, of course, is more expensive, and hence they have devs to create software for it. Overall, do I recommend the Amcrest? I mean, for its price point, yes, it is sharp. Do keep in mind that you need to invest in some light as well, as in I have two lights side by side to make this clear enough, otherwise it would be quite dark. Whereas this can handle low light much better, but then you also be moving slower, or it looks like very blurry because it reduces its shutter speed, and it's not as smooth. So yeah, it has that little trick of its sleeve, but it has some sacrifices, but at least you can see your face still, so it's more accommodating to more difficult environments. So yeah, if you have any more questions, just leave in the comment box below and I'll happily answer them. If you'd like to see more of these reviews, just like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.